Hello and welcome to Sunrise Cardcast, your one-stop podcast shop for all things hockey cards. My name is Eric Andrews, also known in the hobby as Hammerhawks. I'm joined by my co-host and fellow hobbyist Aaron Goldstein, better known as Crease Collector. So we have another fun hobby topic to discuss today. Just like last time, we're kind of hoping to get a little bit more into that. It's kind of a trend we did in the earlier days of the podcast, and we've kind of just realized we'd gotten away from that a little bit, but those episodes tend to be a lot of fun and engaging. So figured we'll start doing those a little bit more often. So we'll do that again today. But before we get to that kind of main conversation topic, I'm going to start off with a couple of nice recent additions for my collection. So this first one is, I think this card is from 2019-20. So it's kind of been a little bit of a long time coming. I think it was inserted in a 21-22 product, if I remember correctly, as an update. But still, that's 4 years of trying to track down a copy and finally was able to do so. So as I alluded to, from 2019-20 Upper Deck Ice and Ice Buckets Red Parallel numbered out of 5 of Jacob Slavin.
What a great card. I mean, you did actually show me this one when you got it, and one, I was surprised. One that you would share with me, a rare pickup like that. And two, just the fact that, I mean, it's rare, it's out of 5. And you've probably been looking for that for quite a while. I think when we were talking about it at first, you said you lost out on like 2 or 3 other copies. And I mean, a card like that is just, it's just one of those ones that they're so sneaky. And, if you don't find one, who knows when you're ever going to find one. So I'm really glad that you picked that one up. And yeah, definitely one that kind of flows kind of under the radar, but one that's super important, obviously, for a completionist player collector like yourself.
Yeah. So yeah, to your point, I believe I had missed out on 2 of these already. I think one it might have sold without me even seeing it. But I know I had been in on an auction for one closer to when it was released as an update, and the price just was wildly high in my opinion, especially back then. His stuff has gone up since then. But I think back at that time it sold for like 125 US or something.
That's a
That's the
lot.
number that's kind of in my mind as the ballpark, which again, 3-4 years ago, that was even crazier than it is today. When I was bidding on this, that was kind of the number I felt was realistic today. But I ended up getting it for cheaper than that. So I was not only just happy to cross the card off the list in general, but to get it for cheaper than what I thought it would go for, I was pretty happy about as well. So
Yeah, it's always fun when you can do that, especially for the price component. I mean, finding the card, obviously, as collector is fantastic, but especially when you've missed out on a couple copies and you kind of have a kind of feel for what these would go for. And then obviously in today's hobby landscape, and there's Carolina, there's Slavin and the accomplishments he's had since then. You kind of have a range of where you think it might go, but you're always kind of nervous when or if it does pop up again. So, glad you picked that one up for a steal of a deal.
yeah, definitely nice to be done with that one because, kind of like you said, knowing that I missed out on a couple, it's like, oh man, like, am I ever even going to see another one of these? I don't know. So, yeah, nice to not have to think about that one moving forward. So, and then this other one, we have a nice, I guess it's kind of like a benefit at work in a way where we get reimbursed for our cell phone bill. Um, Basically, just like as long as you use your cell phone to any extent for your job, which I certainly do, then they will reimburse you for your phone bill. Um, and they pay for an entire year all at once. So it's almost kind of just like a freebie bonus, type of thing. So, and I honestly had forgotten that that was a thing until they were like, "Hey, make sure you turn in your phone bill." I was like, "Ooh, all right, sweet." So, anyway, long story short, I will take that money and just put it into my collection and pick up something nice. And the timing worked out pretty amazingly this time around, to be able to find this card and then work out a deal with the guy who had it. Um, yeah, like I said, the timing was fantastic. So up front, I will give a shout out to Ken Mueller. He's on eBay, Instagram. But yeah, shout out to Ken. He was fantastic to work with. So if you guys ever, are looking to pick up something from him, highly recommend working with him. He was great to work with and interact with, and he did a phenomenal job packaging it and everything. And communication was great. So yeah, can't speak highly enough of just the deal in general, but the card itself is awesome. So again, essentially, probably maybe spent a little bit more on it than maybe it's worth, but knowing that it was essentially
It's all
free.
gravy at this point, right?
Right.
So yeah.
So yeah, anyway, it is from 2425 O-Pee-Chee Platinum, a Golden Treasures 1 of 1 of Jacob Slavin.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's really nice. Yeah, they're my favorite. I saw a poll somewhere a couple days ago of like ranking your favorite non-autograph, non-memorabilia 1 of 1. And for me, it was O-Pee-Chee Platinum. I think their Golden Treasures is just it's the best. It's honestly the best. It's like the super refractor 1 of 1 of hockey, essentially. I know there's been some other variations on that, similar patterns, but to me, nothing comes close like the O-Pee-Chee Platinum Golden Treasures 1 of 1. It's just in the modern hobby, it's the best looking 1 of 1 out there, I think. I know there's mem, I know there's auto stuff, but to me, it's amazing. It's so pretty. Yeah, exactly. It is a sweet card. So that is amazing. How was it sitting around somewhere like you knew who had it and it was just a matter of time of just prying it from their hands, or was it just sort of this cell phone thing came up as you were kind of learning about the card's whereabouts, or most
Yes.
recently did?
So Ken had actually listed it on eBay as a buy
Okay.
it now. Um, I can't remember if there was an offer feature or not, but he had it listed a little bit high. And so I just reached out and said, like, hey, like, do you have much wiggle room on this? Um, do you use social media for cards at all? So then we ended up talking on Instagram, and worked it out there, and we're able to get to a price point that we were both comfortable with.
That's great.
Yeah, so it literally just popped up when I was doing my multi-time per day slave and search on eBay.
Great.
There it was, and yeah, we'd come to an agreement within, I don't know, probably a few hours or something. So then he pulled it down off of eBay, and yeah.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I really like how, yeah, the timing. Yeah, that's an okay card for Slavin, but we don't talk about value, on this podcast. Is not really what we're all about, but his stock has definitely risen these past couple of years, and so to get a card like that, of a card of his caliber, really, it's really really nice and really timely. I think with your most recent Slavin editions as well. So that'll make for a nice little kind of family photo in our top 10. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I would anticipate that it will be in the top 10. Yep. So
I'm gonna rank it number 1 right now, but I'm sure you'll have something to say about that come year end for sure.
yeah, well, it definitely will not be, but yes.
Well, we'll see. We'll
um,
see.
yeah. Anyway, but yeah, just another shout out to Ken. Yeah, appreciate you being so awesome to work with, and very, very happy to add to my collection. It's actually I guess the third Slave and Golden Treasures I have. I have a base, and then one year he had a retro parallel in the product, so I have that one. So yeah, this is the third Golden Treasures in the Slavin collection.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Glad to see it. I never would have guessed. I search for Slavin sometimes on eBay, but obviously not as much as you do. So, nice to see that card pop up and get into the right collector's hands. It's always nice when that happens. I guess we'll move on to the main topic, and then we're breaking some regular O-Pee-Chee, I believe, afterwards. So, okay, awesome. So, like Eric was saying off the top, we had a nice discussion last episode. If you didn't listen to it, definitely check it out. And we just wanted to bring back more discussion, get you guys involved. If you would like to, or if you're listening later on the pod, hopefully you can get something really good out of this. And just obviously as co-hosts, we really love doing this stuff. And it's always nice to just talk hobby, talk shop. So this week, I just, we were spitballing some ideas, and I brought up the topic, what cards really get your blood pumping as collectors. Now that, once I said that, I'm sure either you're listening right now live or you're driving to work or something, and you're already listing off mentally cards in your head that really get your blood pumping and they really excite you. It could be just, recency bias, like cards you just picked up, like a Golden Treasures or something like that. Or it could be just you're looking back at your short or long time in the hobby and just thinking back to certain cards or certain categories of cards that just really get your blood pumping. Like this list, it'll look different for every single collector. So it's not like a comprehensive list, but it's just cards and, again, categories of cards that we just thought, man, like this for me, just personally, it just does something, and it just makes you excited to pick up that card. Or if you're looking through your binder or looking through your box of cards years later, you stumble upon this card or two that makes you kind of stop in your tracks and thinks, okay, for whatever reason, this card was special. It could be exactly, we got a couple comments. It could be the shine. It could be the look of it. It could be whatever. So we just want to go through a couple different categories of kind of what, in our opinion, what for us kind of excites us and what's gets our blood pumping as collectors. So I'm going to approach this as, again, for me, more of like a player collecting angle. And obviously, since, you guys know, I collect Enroth cards. So I'm going to show, various categories of cards through kind of that Enroth kind of lens. So I'm sure, once I show these cards or once I share these categories, you'll, again, have just a mental list of cards that you've seen, cards that are maybe out of reach, or cards in your own collection that kind of stand out to you. So hopefully this gives you a nice little, kind of mental kind of, I don't know, just some fun things to think about, when you're driving to work or something like that. So my first category, it's not really so much relevant nowadays, but, when I'm thinking about cards that excite me, the first thing that I thought of was error cards. And now, again, that might not mean a lot. A couple people, I can feel your eyes rolling in your head when I mention that, because, again, it's not something that is all that prevalent nowadays in the hobby. Now they'd probably be considered junk. And even in the past, sort of junky. But for those collectors who know or were around when those error cards, specifically, more in the early 90s, was a big deal. Those cards at that time, they got collectors' blood pumping. Like, they excited a lot of people. There wasn't so much, early 90s, there wasn't so much all these crazy parallels, all this technology or memorabilia. So sometimes there was just that slight difference that made that card different in such a way that it got collectors, a lot of collectors, really chasing these cards, even still today. I can't list off, like I know there's like the pro set nosebleed card. I forget the player,
Classic.
but I've seen the card. It still goes for a decent amount of money. Graded, I'm sure. I'm sure in these days go for quite a bit in this sort of hobby timeline that we live in. But just cards like that I don't know, they're just different, and at a time that cards weren't so different. So errors still exist today. Obviously, card printers it's not a perfect science. They've gotten better over the years, but and so that's mainly the reason why you just don't really see much of them anymore. And obviously, with the amount of autographs and memorabilia parallels, they just don't really hold as much weight as they do. So that's kind of my first category. And as an example, a card that I really like in my collection is from 2011-12 Panini Elite Donruss. And it's the base card. And hopefully you guys can see that there. But on the back, you'll see written on there on the penny sleeve, I've kind of dubbed it the Topps baseball back. So really hard to see. You can kind of see it there on the camera, but there is some Topps Gypsy Queen, kind of like a soft sort of like hue. Like on the design, you can kind of see where it was kind of like left over. So I'm not sure nowadays, but back then, all these companies printed at the same facility somewhere in the US. I want to say like Texas, but maybe it was like one of the Carolinas or something like that. I could be wrong. But anyway, so a lot of these cars companies, they kind of just consolidate and they go to one printer. And so they have a lot going on. So sometimes mistakes happen. And a couple years ago, I ran into a collector on from Finland, from these Finnish card forums. Couldn't tell you the name. It started with a K. They unfortunately are not around anymore. The forums were shut down a couple years ago, but I managed to find a collector on there who broke a couple boxes, and all the base cards had this sort of, Topps Gypsy Queen kind of printing defect on the back of these Panini cards. So he had a whole running list of base cards that were in his boxes that were affected by this printing error. And there was one Enroth. And I thought, yeah, sure. I mean, I'll take that. I mean, the shipping from Finland to Canada cost more than the actual card. So it was, just a cheap little pickup, but one that I look at and think, yeah, it's really cool. And it was kind of funny. I wrote a blog post about it years ago, and helped a couple of collectors kind of, look through his list and kind of, get them to kind of reach out to him to kind of get the Topps baseball back for their collection too. So that was really fun. So yeah, again, it's not something that is so prevalent today in the hobby, but it's something that for a lot of collectors, I think, and for maybe dedicated player collectors still today, they go after those weird kind of oddball cards or error cards. And, to some, it definitely, it's something different. And, when you're a collector, maybe they've been retired for, a certain length of time, seeing one of these cards that are, quote, new to you, it's exciting. It's exciting. So I just wanted to bring that up as my first category of cards that really, excite you as a collector.
Yeah, I know. I feel like one occurrence that we see of this pretty much every year at this point is almost every release of flagship now on the retail side.
Yep.
You will see cards, whether it be base
No foil.
cards, young guns, inserts that don't have foil stamped on them. I've seen actually quite a few of the 94, 95 die cut rookie cards over the last, I don't know, week or two that are missing the gold foil on them. So it's just kind of
Interesting.
an interesting looking card. But then, yeah, like I said, we've seen, base cards and young guns that have been missing that as well. So I feel like, yeah, that's kind of the most common occurrence today. But yeah, like you said, obviously going back to the 90s, there was a lot more of that. And like you said, like the Paul Gillis nosebleed pro set card is a key example for sure. So yeah, always interesting because you never quite know what you're going to see. And a lot of the times you might not know that something exists until you see it. So just kind of cool in that regard. My first category, and I have kind of a few different examples that fall within this category. And I was not as prepared as Aaron. I don't have the cards physically with me, so I'll throw up scans kind of as I'm talking about them. But yeah, my first category is what I'm considering rare staple parallels. So for me, one that immediately comes to mind and one that I always enjoy picking up a copy each year or, whatever it might be would be, an Upper Deck high gloss out of 10, for example. So here's a Slave and Young Gun high gloss. But yeah, to me, that's like the parallel to get of a player every year. Is it the rarest? No. Is it the most expensive? No. But it's, kind of the longest standing, flagship parallel. And to me, there's just something, special about that. So yeah, for me, it's a must get. And I'll even kind of hoard them if I can. If I have one copy, then I won't go absolutely nuts trying to get multiples, but If they pop up for a reasonable price after that, I will grab multiple copies. So yeah, just a card that I love each year. And then another one that would fall into that category, and this one is don't pay attention to the player too much. This is just the only scan I had on my computer of this type of card. But we saw the golden treasures earlier, but kind of in a similar vein as the high gloss, the O-Pee-Chee Platinum Emerald Surge out of 10. Just a card that I feel these are very visually appealing every year. The green just pops so nicely on the card. And again, like I said, yeah, the golden treasures are great, but I'm kind of more focusing on like not one of ones, stuff that is more easily attainable, but still is very tough, very rare. So that would be another example. And then the third one that kind of came to mind in this category would be the Skybox Metal Universe PMG greens out of 10. So there's a flurry as an example.
That's awesome. I really love the cards that you chose. I mean, the PMGs have kind of came back into the kind of limelight this past couple years. And then Platinum was not as long standing as obviously a high gloss, but still very, very, noteworthy with collectors. But bringing it all the way back to that high gloss, yeah, it's something that we've seen for, over 20 years now. It's something that, the high gloss parallel, it's something that is just so exciting to see, when a collector, collects that certain card. And I'm biased as a player collector, but yeah, it's one of the ones that you look out for. It's always funny when, people, who are new to the hobby, they kind of ask, okay, what are the key cards, I should get? Usually they're looking at it from more of like a common kind of, point of view, kind of that viewpoint. But for player collectors who have been at it for, that much longer, when you want to talk about cards that are rare and ones that you really would want to get, I think those three cards, more so the high gloss, because it's more like, I guess, traditional, but it's a card that, yeah, if you're like any hardcore player collector, that's one that you really gravitate towards, thinking, man, like, again, like it's hard to talk about one-on-ones because, you never really know. But yeah, for sure, the high gloss is something, it's so iconic. It's just a classic, and it's rare. It's simple, but it's just a really just nice cornerstone to anyone's player collection. And I feel like that term has been kind of like that term cornerstone. I remember like people on the online forums would use that years ago, and I love that term. And since then, it's kind of died. But I want to bring it back. People talk about grails and stuff like that, and that's great. But yeah, cornerstones, man, I want to bring that back. So maybe this is the podcast to do so. But yeah, cards like that, like the high gloss, they're just, when you see it, you just know. And so if you're a player collector and the high gloss pops up, yeah, there's other cool cards out there for sure. But to me, I totally get what you're saying. The high gloss is one it kind of stops you in your tracks, and you're like, whoa, like what is that? Amazing. So yeah, I really love that. My second category here that I wanted to focus on is team issues. So I have one here. This one is from 2018. It's a KHL card from Dynamo Minsk. So this one was released in Belarus back in 2018 to season ticket holders only. And so pretty rare. And you'll see sometimes, like maybe in the NHL, they're more kind of widespread, but depending on what team or what league you focus on, team issues can be, ones that are super common and ones that are very rare and they don't see the light of day often, like this card here overseas. So every time, I see a team issued card as a player collector, I'm like, man, like that is like so cool. The design might not be perfect. The photo might be, I mean, this is an action shot, so that's pretty good. But sometimes the photo might be, the stock image, the promotional photos they take before the year even starts, and then they use it on the Jumbotron or whatever it is. Pretty simple, basic cards. The card stock may or may not be good. Who knows? But the quality's up in the air. It's not going to turn heads for a lot of people, especially again in today's age, of the hobby. But for me, when I see a team issue card, I'm like, dude, like I want that, especially if, your certain player plays maybe overseas. Now I'm from Canada, and when I see like, a European team issue, I'm like, written in another language or something like that. To me, it's like, I don't even know what this card says. Like it wasn't meant to go global. Like, you know what I mean? It was just something that was super local, super small. The print one may be high, it might be low, but the fact that it went through certain channels that it normally doesn't, when you talk about cards, makes this rare and fun at the same time. And so, every time I see a team issue, even, an NHL team issue, it's just something like, yeah, like that's awesome. And again, it doesn't really, you know, influence a lot of the, collectors out there now, but it doesn't matter. To me, it's just those are the type of cards that I'm looking for. And again, some might be super rare and you might not see one for years if you know they exist at all. It could have been given out at a one-time, meet and greet signing after a game to a handful of fans. You have no idea, or the player could have been traded and only a few of them, were released. No clue, right? So those cards to me, just their origin stories, if you can even find one, is just so unique. And for me, team issues are one of the categories that for me, they just really excite me. And they're just so fun.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with that. I know um, I've had a few of those of my guys over the years. I know Jalmerson had one with the Blackhawks. I know Slavin has had at least two, one of which I have still not picked up because I didn't know it existed at the time it came out.
Man.
There has never been one on eBay, and I just found out that it existed, I think, on trading card database like a few
Okay.
years after the fact. So then you're trying to like, oh, like how am I going to find one, years later? And I came across someone who had a set of them, like a Hurricanes collector who had a set, didn't want to break it up, which is understandable. He thought he might have had a second set, but didn't know where it was. And long story short, never heard anything about that. So, yeah, maybe one day I'll find one. But yeah, so I mean, they can be very difficult to find. And that's even, that's an upper deck like arena giveaway set
True.
that you think
That's surprising. That
shouldn't be that
surprises me.
difficult.
Huh.
So, there's things like that, but then like you said, there might be, these odd postcards that they did for an autograph
Yeah.
signing at a grocery store or something,
Yeah.
So you just again kind of especially in your case over in Europe, like you just might never know that something exists.
I know there's more, but either I haven't seen them or I just assume that year had them and I put it on a list. I've seen other copies, just not the Enroth. And I'm like, okay, I know there was some team signing somewhere, so he should have one. But I like once you miss it, it's really
Yeah.
hard to get. But that's what makes it fun.
Yep. So, yeah, I definitely resonate with that. And that actually leads into my next one pretty well. My next category is what I'm considering underrated and sneaky tough parallels. So, one that immediately came to mind, and I know you will resonate with this, would be the O-Pee-Chee Retro Blank Backs.
Yes. Yep.
So, I, you guys, if you're
That's
watching
one of
this,
my categories, by the way.
okay. All right. Well, you can talk about that as well. But yeah, so I've got a Scott Foster blank
Love
back
it.
on the screen, which when I found out that he was getting cards, that was like, yeah, like I got to find one of those. That'd be really
So
cool.
cool.
So,
I wonder if he even knows, because I'm sure he picked up a bunch of his cards, parallels, and whatever, but he probably doesn't even know there's a blank back. It's
who
just
knows?
so
Yeah.
rare.
So, yeah, I mean, the print run seems like it's kind of varied over the years. On the tough end, some years have been as low as like 5. On the high end, some years have been like more up like 25. So it kind of varies, but I feel like for the most part it's probably like 10-ish, something like
That's
that.
fair.
But again, I mean, you'll still see every single year when it's O-Pee-Chee release time, someone will say like, "Oh, like what's like this card is messed up. Like they didn't print the back on it. Like should I just like throw it away? And people are like, no, like that's really
I've
rare.
had that question like a week and a half ago. Someone was asking somewhere, like, what are these cards? Which still surprises me because they're out there in the open now. Like before, for years, they were like for 10 plus years, they were, unannounced. And then now they're more announced and they're more, I guess, more publicly talked about, or you'll see them on a sell sheet or something like that. So they're more out there as they're not hiding anymore. But yeah, I mean, again, to your point, you still have people every single year, every release being like, what are these cards? Like it's, should I get, quality control involved from upper deck? Like my car's messed up. And it's like, no, it's super rare. Like I'm not saying it's going to be worth a lot of money. Probably not, but still it's a really cool, like rare card. Like, you got something here. So
Yeah, so I'll go into my other example for this category, and then you can add more on blank backs if you'd like. But then my other example within this category of underrated and sneaky tough parallels, kind of going back to my first category in some ways, but for a few years, as player collectors, so passionately know, in Flagship there was what was called the clear cut exclusives parallel, which again, there was plenty of debate about print run on these, but
crazy.
I think most people would agree it's somewhere between 5 and 10. I tend to say like 6 to 8 because I've seen, I think I've seen, I was trying to figure it out at one point and specifically remember seeing 6 different copies of the Trevor Zegras Young Gun. So it's like, okay, if these are 6 clearly identifiably different copies, that means there's more than 5, right? But also just knowing from my player collecting, whether it be Jalmerson or Slavin, they're definitely not, at least they're not as easy to find as a high gloss. I'll put it that way. Whether they're as plentiful or not, who knows? But it seems like they are tougher, more rare than the high gloss. So that's why I feel like it's probably less than 10. But yeah, they're very cool cards. The clear cut cards are really cool, but then to have a super tough version of the clear cut, as a flagship parallel that was done from I think they started in 1920 and went through 22-23. So it was only around for a few years, but yeah, any player collector who has a player in flagship during those years knows how incredibly difficult these cards can be.
What a fantastic card. I mean, the fact that who knows, but if there is 10, I mean, man, this might be scarcer than the blank backs if there is 10, because you don't see that often, if ever, guys with just multiples of these, like multiples on multiples of these cards. It's just so sneaky. Like, man, I thought the blank back was sneaky. I mean, this one is just, it stares you right in the face, but even then it's so hard to tell for the people who don't know. It's just it's just a mysterious, sneaky card.
And
And
even I've seen people again similar to the blank back, like, oh, like what's the deal with this? Like, it's a UD exclusive, so it's numbered out of 100, right? No, definitely not. Yes, they're very cool cards for sure.
I thought you were going to mention, and apologies if this is your next card, but I thought you were going to mention, similar vein as this one, but again with O-Pee-Chee, the scratch offs that they did one year. And we were talking about that recently too. Like, and I actually had a picture on my phone because maybe I was going to bring it up too. But yeah, like those scratch off cards were done one year, and it was too hard. I think it was too hard. So those ones are just, for those who don't know, I think it was 1819.
Sounds right. Yeah, I've never seen a Jalmerson still to this day.
It was like the retro scratch offs, like in the past in those vintage sets, you can scratch off the name. So they did that in 1819 O-Pee-Chee. The retro cards, they look the same, except they had a silver strip along the bottom where the player name would be, where you would scratch off that. I mean, maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but those were the scratch off parallels, and they were like crazy hard to find. And I mean, yeah, just wild. So cards like that, if you see it, I mean, just reading about it, just hearing us talk about it, they're like, okay, cool. Like that's kind of frustrating, but really fun to think about. And then if you're a player collector and just seeing it listed or it's incoming or you manage to snag it after the release and you're going through your collection years later, that's a card right there. These couple of examples that just, to our point, just they're just for whatever reason they just get your blood pumping. They're just so exciting for this reason or that reason. And Eric kind of he touched on it first, but yeah, like I was going to bring up blank backs as well. I mean, drop that card, but yeah, I mean, this was from 11-12 and just so interesting. For those who are curious, they started in 2008 and they had a distinct yellow blank back, which was just so interesting. And it was the Gretzky year, and it was just super cool. And then in 09-10, they had the blue back. And then since then, they just went with like kind of like your standard cardboard back until they went with the red with the white now. So it's just different things, but to each their own. But I
Here's the
think those cards are
0809,
really
by the
cool.
way. This is
Yeah, the yellow one,
Walmer
just
Sims. Yep.
super different. So I picked mine up a couple years ago for my Mike Mole collection, the 0809s. And that card was just one that I was like, yeah, like this isn't just a card. Like it's amazing. It really is. So maybe we're alone in that, but those types of sneaky parallels, we love them. And yeah, super cool. So my next category is I have two cards to share, and I think I might be stealing one of Eric's categories on this. I don't know for sure, but maybe I am. I have two cards to share, but cards that really excite us. For me, and I'm sure many of you, now we're kind of approaching. Yeah, exactly. Right? It does. The hobby's fun, so we're gonna make it fun. But I lost my train of thought. But anyway, so this is more, I'm sure a lot of people would resonate with. We're getting more into what we see every day, when we open our social media feeds and things like that. But this next category is memorabilia that it's just so unique. Okay. And I'm speaking this time, I'm speaking more just visually speaking. It's very unique. And cards like that, when you see it, they differentiate themselves from the next kind of wave of memorabilia cards for whatever reason. So this one, of course, is the Between the Pipes, skull and crossbones patch. Obviously, for Enroth, it's he's not a Hall of Famer or something like other guys in this set, but just the patch itself, just for its uniqueness of what it is, just visually speaking as well, just make it something different where, it's just different than all the other memorabilia cards. And this one as well, the Prime Ties, terrible lighting. You can't see that at all. But the Prime Ties there where you just look at it and it's so unique. Just visually, you're like, what is that? Yeah, it's super cool, right? So yeah, it's just amazing. X marks the spot, as the Pirates would say. So it's something where it doesn't have to be the most flashiest player in the set, but it's just a patch or a piece of memorabilia that just visually is just like, wow. And cards like that, of course, they're special to a lot of collectors. And they're the type of cards that even if you don't collect that player, you're surfing on eBay, whatever it is, and you see a super unique patch and it just visually is just wow. Even you kind of stop yourself and think, wow, like, should I get that? Like, that's just so cool. And so, yeah, exactly. And so there's cards like that. They just excite a lot of collectors. And so that was one of the categories that I wanted to just kind of highlight. So I might be stealing a category from Eric. Apologies. But because I know he has a lot that fall into this category. But I just wanted to kind of, just mention that. Unique patches are amazing.
Yeah, I think that's very much a category that speaks for itself. Probably doesn't need a whole lot more unpacking there. I will say I have something. One of my categories later is similar, but it is different still. So we'll get to that later. But for my next one, and I don't think this is one of yours, but I could see it being one, or maybe you didn't think of it, but you would agree. it's kind of one I feel like a lot of people resonate with this, but I think there's kind of a distinction of when it's done really well, that's what's really cool, and that being color match cards. So you
Ooh.
will see, um, even like that Adam Boquist,
Yep.
Emerald Surge. It's like, yeah, like the Hawks have some green, like it still works. It looks cool. It's not really a color match. Um, or like even if you had like a an O-Pee-Chee black rainbow, of the Blackhawks, it's like, yeah, I guess that's kind of a color match, but like not really. Like it is, but it's not. Even like back with the Emerald Surge conversation, you'll have like a Minnesota Wild card, and it's like, well, yeah, green is one of their colors, but that's not really the right green. Like it's different. So yes, they are, but they're not quite
I see what you're
right.
saying.
So to me, when a color match is done really well, for example, this card,
Ooh,
it's
yeah.
just
That's cool.
amazing.
That's cool. Love
So
tops.
yeah, anyone who's listening, this is a Marc Andre Fleury Topps Pristine Gold Refractor, that the gold just literally perfectly matches with his pads, and in my opinion, is one of, if not the nicest looking hockey card ever made. Um,
Yep.
just because of how stunning the card looks with all of that perfectly matched gold on the card. Yeah, I mean, it's just, again, when it's done really well, color matches just kind of speak for themselves. Like, yeah, that's just a fantastic looking card.
I would agree 100%. And it's numbered out of 33,
Mm-hmm.
correct? Yeah. I mean, you don't see too much of them out there, but when they do surface, of any player really, they're really, really special, because I think I just shared one on my story, not of the Flurry, but
You
I
did.
shared a Hasek today. Someone reached out to me, and I was on their profile this afternoon, and I saw the Hasek there, and I'm like, yep, that's getting to share. I like to share a lot of cool cards on my story, and giving some shout outs to some collectors. So that one right there, I mean, it's funny you mentioned this card, because I was looking at a couple earlier today, and yeah, wanted to pick up the Kovalchuk. Exactly. So it's a card that, and I did not have this as one of my categories, but you're totally right. I mean, when you see a card that perfectly matches the player's jersey or maybe their equipment, in Fleury's case here, it's just, I don't know, they just, some more than others, I'm sure, but for some people who are drawn to more the aesthetics of the card, it just, it's like a piece of art, man. It's a piece of art. And, when this card was coming in the mail, I'm sure, I mean, for a magnitude of different reasons, but I'm sure when you had this incoming, you were like, man, I'm excited for this card. Just visually,
Oh
it's
yeah.
not just a Fleury rookie card. It's not even that it's out of 33. Okay. It's not even, and I love it, that it's die cut. It's not even that. It's just the color match and just everything involved just works so well. And it's just so aesthetically pleasing to the eye. I love it.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. So the next one is similar vein to my previous topic of patch cards, or just memorabilia in general, that just they're eye popping. They're just so pleasing visually. This next category is same thing, memorabilia, but this one has more of a historical element to it. So it's memorabilia cards that you can sort of place to a particular game or a particular, like, maybe era. It's from a particular jersey that they wore maybe once or twice or whatever it is, or it's from a certain event or something like that. Like something about that patch, or maybe you found out that specific jersey was sold. It could be just a regular jersey piece, whatever it is. But that specific piece of memorabilia for your detective work, it takes some work, but through your detective work, you can figure out that this was used in this sort of event or this game or this historic milestone for your player, whatever it is. That it's not so much, and it can be patches that do look great for sure, but it's more just memorabilia that, again, has that historical element to it that you can sort of place to a certain date or time. And so for that example, there's a couple in my collection, luckily. But for that example, I just went with the 2012 Panini Prime Premier Game patches. And I think Kurt had one of these in his collection back in the day of Gaborik, I believe. I could be wrong, but I think he had the one that had the NHL logo. You can kind of see it on the back of what the full patch looks like. But he had the one that I think had the NHL logo in the middle. So I've been still looking for that card. I've never seen it, but I've seen a couple other players with that middle patch, and it's super cool. So this is, of course, from the 2011 NHL Premier Series. And so game used patch, and it's one where you can kind of go online, search some images, and see, especially the one here on the card, of him wearing that jersey with that patch kind of in the photo. So it's ones that, yes, I think personally this card looks great and all that good stuff. Definitely fits in the last category, but it's a little different where you can sort of get that historical element to it, which is really, really fun. And so this patch in particular, yes, of course, it was used in the Premier Series, but it was used in, well, I guess it still counts. So among the Premier Series games, they played exhibition games with some local club teams. So this was used in Germany against the Mannheim DEL club. And so Enroth did play that game, and he was a part of the actual, NHL portion of the Premier Series as well. I forget who they faced in that game, but I think it was in Finland. They faced off against a team. He took a warm-ups and backed up. So not game used in the game, but still kind of game used. So I consider it part of both aspects of the Premier Series. So really cool. And just the fact that it traveled to different places around the world is so exciting to me as well. So cards that, I mean, yes, I'm sure there's better historical pieces of memorabilia for sure. Again, I'm just placing it from my collection, but I'm sure you can either just in general in the hobby or just in your own collections kind of look at certain cards and know that, okay, yes, there's many memorabilia cards out there of this player. Maybe there's better patches of this player out there from XYZ set, but this card, for whatever reason, is above them maybe because it came from this game or this certain season, whatever it is. It's more historically, I guess, grounded in something. Whereas our other memorabilia cards, obviously they do have some history to them, but we don't particularly know all that much about it, which is kind of fun to kind of, think about also. Like, what was this, what game was this used in, right? And that's really cool too. But there's just something about where, memorabilia cards that you can place to this game or that game or this series where it just kind of, to me, when I see cards like that in my own collection or you're bidding on them, it just means that much more. So that was my next category. It was, not so much memorabilia cards that look good. I mean, yes, but it's cards that have that historical sort of undertone to them.
Yeah, definitely very cool. Like you said, it's kind of something that helps take what, it's a nice card regardless, but something that kind of helps take it to that next level a little bit. And I know a product that does that so incredibly well, of course, is SP Game Used.
Yes, I forgot to mention that. Exactly.
With Winter Classic and Stadium Series and All-Star games and stuff like that. I'm definitely fortunate that Jacob Slavin has been an All-Star before, so have quite a few of his SP Game Used All-Star Skills Competition memorabilia. Probably the highlight of that stuff would be the dual shield card from Ultimate Collection featuring the shield from that event.
Oh man, that's a great card.
Yeah, so there's
a great card.
A good example there. And then jumping back to SP Game Used, of course, this year they had the Four Nations Face-Off stuff.
Yes, like look at that card. Like, like you just added a card today. I know it doesn't have as much attributes, but it was out of 5. And you added this card recently that was out of 5 as well. Like, there's something about knowing where this card came from. And also, yes, it's an international piece, which is amazing. But to your point from years past with Stadium Series and stuff like that, Winter Classic, like there's just something about when you see those cards come up for sale or you see the checklist. And I mean, I don't know, it just does something else to you as a collector. You're like, yeah, these ones mean more. Like these ones are just, I'm so much more excited for these cards in particular because I know where they came from. I'm not saying they have to do that for every card. It would be nice, but you know, certain events or series like those and the memorabilia cards that come from them in SB Game Use, it just makes it that much more cooler. So I'm really glad you brought that up and you showed that.
Yeah, and even, I mean, as a result, sometimes that can really drive the market for those cards. Again, not that we talk about value too much, but another really good example of that is Slavin had Stadium Series memorabilia cards a few years ago, and Hurricanes collectors just go absolutely bonkers for those cards. Not so much, I mean, the common jersey cards aren't too hard, but
Right.
for example, like the Stadium Series Fabrics patch out of 35 of Slavin. I just finally picked up one of those like a few months ago because every single time they sell, they would sell for way more than it made any sense. Like I'm
That's wild.
talking like, you hear like, okay, SP Game Use patch out of 35. That should be what, 20 bucks, 15 bucks, you know? But every single time they would sell for like 75, 100, 125. And it's like, that's just crazy. But it speaks to how much value there is in that for people because, presumably those people attended that game, had a great time, in that environment, in that atmosphere, taking in a really unique event. And they want a piece of that for their collection. And I totally understand that. So, yeah, again, it's that type of thing that takes a fairly standard card in the hobby nowadays, and a memorabilia card, a patch card, whatever it is, and just takes it to that next level, by being a very easily recognizable that you can tie it to this is when this is from. um, so yeah, definitely a good category there. And then for my next one, I guess in a way, the last card, my last category was kind of a preview and can fit into this category too. But my next category is literally anything from 2003-04.
Okay, that's
Gets
awesome. That's
me
very
excited.
specific and I love it. That's
So,
what this
of
is all
course,
about.
that could be something like this, where it's, about as high end of a card from that year as you can get, being a Flurry Premier RPA out of 99. But I was thinking about this, earlier today. Like, it literally does not matter to me what the card is. If it's 0304, I like it because that was my first full year in the hobby. I remember all of those products coming out and thinking they were all awesome. And, for opening, a pack here and there. And sometimes if I was lucky and saved up some money, was able to drop, 20 or 30 bucks on a hobby box of whatever back in the day. Imagine that, hobby boxes for $30. I know.
Crazy.
But yeah, like I was thinking even like the simplest of base cards, like in the game action, like that was a $25 per box product. And the cards were nothing overly fancy or special, but even just like I loved how big the checklist was, and the cards focused on, really good, as the product name would indicate, in the game action photography. There was generally really cool action photos, and so again, those are literally like worthless cards, but they're still just cards that really are exciting to me just because of everything that year I loved. And whether it be a card that's probably not even worth a penny, or something like the Flurry Premier RPA, any card from 0304, whether it's part of my project or if it's an insert or a parallel like the Gold Refractor or whatever it might be. um, if you show me an 0304 card and you show me an 0203 card or a 2526 card, the 0304 card is going to win. So,
Yeah, I mean, I'm just sitting here with like a smile on my face because it's not 0304 for me, but I mean, I think, and those listening can definitely, when you were talking about what 0304 means to you, I think we all had a certain year or a certain era kind of on the brain. For me, it was 0506 or 0607 ish. But just hearing you talk about what 0304 meant to you, it was like, yeah, like we've all, as collectors, we all have felt that one way or another with a particular set or a particular year. And that's what the hobby is all about. So every time you see, even if you already have the card, every time you see a certain set of cards from that era that you love or product, whatever it is for you that reminds you of that nostalgia, it just excites you that much more, especially if you you're a set collector for these 0304 products. I can only imagine your excitement or that blood pumping effect that when you see a card that you really need and it's 0304, you're like, this is amazing. I love these cards. And the fact that it's from 0304, it's an older card now. It's the fact that it's coming up now is just unbelievable. So it probably hits you right in the feels. And that's what I love about collecting. And I'm sure, again, you listeners have that era or that product on your brain right now. And, we would love to hear about them. So, but I'm sure, we all have that, and it's really, really special. So that's what this episode's all about. It's cards like that. It's sets like that, and just stuff that reminds us what it really is like to be a collector. And, that nostalgia stuff. I just love it. So, the next category for me is one that, again, maybe you'll be able to name it, maybe not. There's so many cards out there, especially if you've been collecting a long time. But you all have those cards on your brain. You think about them from, time and time again. They might, life's busy, and so you might forget about it after a while. But eventually, this card or two cards might come across the brain here and there. And that card is your white whale. So that is my next category. So cards that excite you. It is those white whale cards. Again, they're all different, similar to the nostalgic stuff that Eric mentioned. That year or that product, whatever it is going to be different to each collector. But same thing with your whales. There are those cards out there that, you think about it, you dream about it, you may have seen it, maybe you haven't. And you just think, man, that's my white whale right there. Like, if I can get that card, everything in the world will be okay. Not really, but that's how it feels, at least, if I can only get that card, right? And so, I mean, we had I think it was episode 6 of the podcast. I mean, if you want to go back and listen to it, it was awesome. We kind of defined what a white whale was, what we're looking for, some white whale acquisition stories that we had. It was just a blast. So I'm not going to go through all that in detail, but I do have one story for you guys. And it's probably not the one Eric is thinking, but he'll know the card when he sees it. So for white whales, this was mine for a long time. It was this 11-12 in the game between the pipes dual autograph of Enroth and Tom Barrasso. So it's unnumbered. It's rumored to be out of 5. And for years, there was a massive Tom Barrasso collector in Sweden. And he had everything. I never had a full list of his collection, but, just from what I gathered and from talking to other people, this guy had just about everything. I think he stopped collecting a couple of years ago, unfortunately, but he basically was like, hey, I'm going to stop collecting, but everything I have, it's dying with me, basically. Like, I'm just so passionate about my cards. This is what I have. I'm not getting rid of it. That's it. It's been a good run, basically. These cards still mean a lot to me. I'm just not chasing anything new, basically. So unfortunate to see, obviously, when a collector bows out, but that guy had like 3 of these cards, apparently. And I asked him about it, being like, hey, do you know anything about these cards? Like, yeah, I have a couple of them. And I believe the final 2 is with this other Barrasso collector. I think he might have been in Sweden as well, or somewhere in Europe. But he said, unfortunately, I have a couple copies. I'm not getting rid of them. It's just the way it is. And I'm like, okay, that's the way it is. For years and years and years, I thought, well, there's 5. They're all spoken for, and that's how it is, right? And one time I was at a Tim Hortons, and I was doing a coffee run for a couple people, and I checked eBay just on a whim, and this card popped up. Just insane, right? So I dropped what I was doing. I in an instant became the worst Tim Hortons customer on the planet. They were screaming, whose order is this? I ordered a couple things. It was busy. I was probably holding up the line, whatever. And I didn't care. I was sat down beside the counter at another table, just on my phone. I need to buy this card. And it was one of those things where I saw the picture and I just clicked buy right away. I didn't even know. I mean, not that someone would do this for this kind of a card, but I didn't know if I was buying, a magnet of this card or it was just a stock image or what. My brain shut off. I didn't care about anything but just hitting the buy button on this card. And then afterwards, I got my order. I was, redeemed as a Tim Hortons customer. They let me come back after that. And then after I got my stuff, I sat down again and was like, okay, what did I get? Like, what did I buy? I saw this picture. I just like, what did I buy? And turns out it was in fact a copy of this card. Awesome. Just like I thought. And the card came in and it's been in my collection ever since. So I highly doubt I'll see another one, but it's just amazing. Like cards like that, literally, I thought I was going to have a heart attack or something. I was like, nothing matters but this card. This is what the white whale means to. I keep showing the card. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm going to put it down right now. But cards like that, the white whale, I don't think you're a human collector if you see a card that you categorize as your white whale. And I mean, again, there's been so many terms thrown around, like the Grail. Grail is now like the hot buzzword, right? This is my Grail card, right? And I'm like, dude, it's been out like a week. Like this, I mean, it's an awesome card. Don't get me wrong, but I want to see the card that you doubt exists or you never think you're gonna get. And I don't want to be negative or anything. It's just they're those cards that, again, you're driving to work or something, or you're on a walk and you're thinking about those cards. I can hear you thinking about those cards that just for whatever reason you don't have and you want it. Like you dream about it. And again, this card will be different for every collector, but the white whale is one that when you see it or even just thinking about it, it makes my heart go crazy, man. It's unreal. And I don't know, man, like that's just the fun part about collecting. So that's my next category, the white whale.
Yep. I think that is one that would apply to every collector. I mean, if a white whale for you doesn't get you excited, I don't think anything will. So
exactly.
Yeah, definitely a good category there. I mean, of course, for me, the Jalmerson 0809 SP game used 1/1 rookie is that for me. I've never seen it. Who knows if I ever will, but if that day ever comes, I'm sure it will be quite the day. So
if you were at, and I know there's not many Tim Hortons locations, but like what's your local, coffee donut place? Is it like a Dunkin' or something? I know they're coming up to Canada. I just had to throw that in there. Dunkin' Donuts coming up to Canada.
My town is not big enough for a Dunkin'. We do have Starbucks.
Okay. All right, fair enough. So you're at your Starbucks. I'm not saying you're a Starbucks guy, but you say you're at a Starbucks and the 0809 SB game used Jalmerson comes up, the 1/1. You're not taking your order. You're not grabbing your order. You're sitting down, you're parking it, and you're buying your card. It's because you're going crazy inside. You're like, I need to get this card. That is what white whales like that do. And I know that one is on your list, but I'm sure you can think back to other white whales that you've acquired and it got you that same feeling of just, okay, like it needs to happen, or it's in the mail and you're freaking out about it. Like there's cards like those that they feel different,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's definitely a very good category. My next category, and this is the card that, short of the sky falling, this will be number one for my countdown this year. But it's a very good illustration of the category of cards that feature multiple types of memorabilia on them. there's just something
Yeah.
special about cards that have different types of memorabilia on them. You know, of course, you know, the in the game complete package cards come to mind, but there's been so many different ones over the years. But yeah, I don't know. There's just something really cool about having a variety of memorabilia all on the same card. And of course, you know, this card represents that very well. But it doesn't have to be anything nearly this extravagant or anything. But um, even if it's just like a complete jersey card, for example,
Love those.
different types of material from a jersey, you know, is really cool too. But you know, to me, the multiple types of memorabilia is kind of even the next level of that type of card.
100%. I mean, you showed this one off last week, and it kind of fits into my historical memorabilia card too, where, yes, it is a complete, a complete card type thing, but it also features, just Hall of Fame historic like memorabilia that is just amazing. So this card hits many different points. I think it's one of those cards where, again, when you had this thing in the mail, it was like, this is something different. This is it's getting me going a little bit. So it's quite the card. So yeah, definitely number one worthy for sure, I think. But amazing card and amazing category too. So this next one for me is this one's a little weird. It's a little different, and it's kind of, you'll see what I mean. So my next category is cards that shouldn't exist. That's the category that I want to next talk about. And it's something that you might not always know what's out there, similar to, team issues and stuff like that. They're kind of odd, but yeah, cards that shouldn't exist. So that stuff is like, sample cards that, they don't really come from a box, or proof cards, promo cards, executive samples, cards that were given out to, like, there was another example I saw, like I was scrolling around Instagram, and these kind of made the waves around the hobby a couple months back, but they were the 97, 98 Pinnacle Totally Certified Platinum sample cards. So they, I think someone bought, I don't know the source, but these cards belong to the CEO of Pinnacle in the 90s. It was Jerry Meyer. And so I guess they were in his exactly. And so they were kind of uncovered a little while ago. And so, yeah, super cool cards. I'll kind of show it on my phone here. There's a Cujo there. So these cards, flat out, they shouldn't exist at all. If there were any other copies, they were destroyed and they were only given as executive samples or prototypes, some might call them. They were not meant for the public. Again, they were given to the CEO for his personal collection, or I don't exactly know why they were given to him. Maybe someone with more information on that. Were they given just as approvals? Were they given as a gift? I'm not sure. Did he collect a lot? Was he, a big, collector? And hey, these are going in my personal collection. I'm not really sure what the, history on these specific cards were from this set. But either way, they shouldn't exist out there just for us, regular collectors to pick up, right? They should not exist at all. They're sample cards. They weren't packed out. Flat out, they shouldn't exist. So cards like that, for me, I don't have much in my collection, but every time I hear about those cards, there's ones that I'm just like, they definitely stop me in my tracks. Just the mystery behind that, just the story behind these cards are just so interesting to me. And there is one example in my collection, and I showed it off a little while ago. Picked this up a few years back, but it's from the 2017-18. I believe that these were from the KHL exclusive collection, but these were the Game Use Stick card set, which was released, but these are the promo card versions. So I've seen a couple of these KHL promo cards over the years from a couple different sets. The one or two that I have seen from the other sets were apparently given out like almost like redemptions where you can kind of redeem them. They were super rare. And then you get sort of a team set of these kind of promo cards. I believe there was an autograph set that had promos. There was a mask set that had promo cards. And it's okay. So I knew about those. I don't have them, but I knew about those. They were released kind of separately, but there's some story behind it. They were meant to go out to collectors. Okay, fine. But these promo cards specifically, you can kind of see it at the bottom there. Promo card right there at the bottom. These cards were apparently player given cards. And so I've heard of that a couple examples over the years. Basically, they were given to the player. There might be more examples than what we know about out there, but basically, if you're having a player do a signing for, you send them a bunch of cards. Sometimes companies will send them certain cards that are just for them, maybe certain promos or, whatever it is that say, hey, thanks for signing these cards. Here's a card just as a thank you, right? A lot of them, maybe they get thrown out. I have no idea what happens to these cards. I know there was from Be a Player, I think it was years ago. I know Tim, our Turco collector out there, has one. I don't think I've seen. Yeah, Signature Series. I don't think I've seen another one from any other player, but I didn't do much digging. But basically, these sort of player-given cards were cards that were, again, they were given to the player as a thank you for signing these cards. Cool. And they only made them for them. And on the back of these ones, they had kind of player written on the back, kind of stamped on the back, I think. Mm-hmm. And then I guess Turco gave it to his dad. And so Tim was able to get this sort of player-given card from Turco's dad. And so that story, it blows my mind. It like that stuff's so cool. And it kind of, when I hear stories about that, I just think about what other cards out there. And this card had a certain, I think it had like a certain silver foil on it. Maybe it was different than the base version. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe the stamp was just the the variety that it had on it, but I could be wrong on that. But anyway, it was unique and it was given to the player. And so apparently these promo cards from the Stick series set, apparently the guy that I got it from said that he got it from Enroth himself. I guess maybe they did a signing with him, with his team. Sometimes the rep for these companies will come to the player to have them sign these cards. And so maybe this was given to him during one of those interactions. And then he turned around and gave this, or a couple of them, to a certain collector. And he took these handful of cards and gave one to me. And that was really cool. And then this collector said he got it from Enroth. And I thought that was really cool. And again, I don't really know of the whole kind of backstory on all these promo cards, but this is only the third set I've seen done for the KHL set that Enroth is involved in. And maybe there's more, who knows? But it just, this card should not exist on the open market. I mean, not that it's going on the open market, but it shouldn't exist to the public, and yet it does. And cards like that, like the executive sample, from Pinnacle, it's just so cool. And the backstories behind those cards are just really amazing. And so when I see or read about cards like that, it just gets me really excited. So it's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know that I have anything quite like that in my collection, but a story about something like that I know about, and has actually been talked about on our show way back in the day. I think it was back in 2020 when I think it was the first time we had Dr. Price on the show. He was mentioning that back with the 2000-2001 Be a Player memorabilia Vezina pad cards, that he actually had an extra, like an additional set made for himself. And in order to differentiate those, he did not have the backs printed.
Huh.
So he has a framed set of the cards that don't have the backs printed on them at all.
So it's just like a proof image, or
is it just fully produced cards?
Fully made card, just a blank back.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's interesting. Do you know where those are?
He's got them.
He still has them. Okay. I wasn't sure if it was like, a grandson or something now has them or something, but that's super cool. Like, to me, like cards like that, where, I mean, technically, they didn't get released or anything, or they're not with anyone else in the hobby, but cards like that shouldn't exist really do. And it's amazing. I love that. Thank you for bringing up that story. I totally forgot about it.
Yeah. So then my last category, I have two examples that fall into this category, and uh, kind of in some ways similar-ish to some stuff you talked about, but a little bit different. Um, Things that I would consider to be kind of like iconic memorabilia types. And what I mean by that is something that is just like very instantly recognizable and like kind of synonymous with hockey. So for me, two things kind of immediately come to mind for that. One would be skate lace cards. I really, really enjoy. I have this Ovechkin. I have a Flurry. I have that Anton Frondell that I picked up recently. I have a Jack Adams and then a George Vezina. So yeah, but to me, it's just like, like what among equipment, what's one of the unique things in hockey? Well, the skates, of course. And, what's a pretty recognizable aspect of skates? Well, the laces. So, I think, yeah, just to me, like any skate lace card, regardless of who it is just like very, very cool.
I love that. I mean, just the uniqueness of it. And like you said, what's the most unique about, hockey players and their equipment? I mean, skate lace, right? I mean, it's one of the big ones. And obviously with Ovechkin's there on the screen, you can add some flair to it. You can add some personality, him with those bright laces. I mean, it's super cool. So yeah, I mean, those different memorabilia types that you don't see too often is yeah, they definitely draw the eye. And I know for you personally, you love skate lace cards, and yeah, they're definitely head turners for sure. Like when you see one, you're like, yeah, that's different, that's unique. So I definitely see why you're drawn towards those. And you have a couple of examples of not only skate lace but other unique pieces of memorabilia as well, and that just, again, they're head turners. So amazing show.
Yeah, so that's one, and then the other kind of example within this category that I picked out would be the players' names off of their sticks. Again, just like a very easily recognizable. You see it, you know exactly what it is. There's no need to explain it, but yeah, there's something really cool about that. Like any stick piece is cool, because again, that's kind of a unique to hockey in a lot of ways type of thing. I mean, yeah, like baseball has bats and stuff like that, but still, it's kind of unique in that regard to the sport. And having the player's name right off the stick is really cool. So yeah, I have Bedard, of course, you see here. I have Michel Goulet, Fleury, Brodeur, Vasilevsky. I feel like I might be forgetting one, but
That
those are the
Brodeur, though,
ones
I love that Brodeur. And you
that immediately.
pulled the Vasilevsky too.
That's right. Yep.
You pulled that one, and the Brodeur
pulled it
was
from
just
in the crease.
yeah, exactly. That Vasilevsky was an insane pull, and the Brodeur was just, I mean, just one that you kind of picked up on a whim, but it's a beauty. I'm forever jealous of that card. It's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, you have some unique pieces of memorabilia in your collection. Yeah, 100%. So this next one is similar to what you brought up, with the tops, cards that really just, maybe from certain products that they're very notable. You know, you brought it up on the color match, portion of it, but, when I think of, notable brands or certain sets, to me, one of the ones that's been on my mind recently is, and there's, cards have been around for so long. There's so many different sets and brands that you can bring up for one reason or another, about why they kind of excite you. And we all have a, personal, reasoning for that. But one of the ones that I kind of brought up recently with Eric was this one here. It was from 1314 Panini National Treasures. and it was the flawless insert cards there. So my light makes it terribly hard to see it, but because it's just so amazing. But these cards here were just stunning in every sense of the word, and they had that cool, yeah, you can get a nice view of it there. So just what an amazing looking card. And for those who've been around the hobby, mainly from other sports, you've heard of Flawless. Eventually they came out with their own unique brand. In other sports, I believe like basketball and maybe baseball as well, where they actually came out with a Flawless, box product. And of course, they produced some incredible cards. And for hockey, it's kind of sad because this card is kind of like what could have been. And before anyone brings it up, they did actually create more flawless cards in 1920. What was it? Chronicles or whatever it was. Panini released some Chronicle cards with Kako and another Russian guy, I believe. And so they actually brought into the mix some different flawless designs and some other different brands as well into this sort of limited release. But in terms of NHL licensed flawless cards, I mean, they just don't exist except for this small subset. So again, I think it was a sign of things to come if they did, sort of keep going with, the NHL cards, but unfortunately they did not. But again, it was just a small glimpse at what I think they were planning to do with hockey and just never got the opportunity to do so. But, they've done it in other sports, so that's totally cool. But again, for hockey collectors, it's just people might not even know these cards exist because they're super limited. There's the gold out of 5 and the 1 of 1. That's it. So again, it was part of a National Treasures release that, along with a lot of other products from 13-14, they were just sort of throwing everything at the wall. Like at some point they knew this is our last year of being an NHL licensed card manufacturer. Let's throw everything at the wall. We got to do it. They created a ton of beautiful products, a lot of beautiful sets that year. I think part of the reason, one, maybe they had stuff in the can that they were going to use later on and said, okay, if we can kind of shoehorn this stuff into it in some way, let's do it. A tall ask for sure, but if we can do it, let's try. And I think maybe the flawless cards were kind of a result of that, of where, hey, flawless is cool, let's do it. But for hockey, we only got one shot at it and we can't do much with it. So let's just do these out of 5 and 1 of 1s. That's kind of all we can do right now. But again, they produced some fantastic cards. And yeah, so that's Flawless. That's Panini Flawless. The only time you're going to see this brand in hockey, for licensed NHL cards. And it's from 2013-14. So Enroth luckily made an appearance in that set. It took me a while to get these cards. Someone was actually going for the run for these out of 5s. And they got 4 out of 5. And they, for whatever reason, they gave up. And I think maybe the last one they were looking for sold. And so they're like, I'm not chasing them all anymore. So they made one available to me, and I'm like, okay, thankfully they did. And the 1 of 1, I lost out on it a couple times, but years later, it finally made its way to me. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that one right there. Kind of like there's so many different cards out there, like so many sets and brands, but ones that were truly kind of a sign of the times, I think. And that one, for many different reasons, I think was those Panini Flawless, inserts.
Yeah, super cool, and cards that nowadays you just don't see. I mean, they were a big deal at the time, but you really don't see them hardly at all anymore.
And I think they're underrated. Like I saw a Ray Bork sell for like 100 something, the other day, and I'm like, man, I still think they're super underrated. Like this set had rookies, it had veteran guys, it also had Hall of Famers. Like it was a deep set, a lot of variety in there, which was, Panini did that a lot in their products, which was great. And this was, no exception there. So if you see one of a team that you like or a player you like, honestly, I'd grab them because they're fantastic cards. So it's unreal. So yeah, just a sign of the times, just those notable sets that really draw your attention. That, for one reason or another, that excites me as a collector. We kind of talked about it off the top, with the high gloss, but that is one for me that they don't exist anymore. It's just, again, a sign of the times. Those who knew, and I don't know, just seeing one of these cards, they're amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I do not have any more categories. I don't know if you have anything left.
I have one more.
Go for it.
So again, we talked about this one as well. This one actually probably relates to more of your first or second category, but I just wanted to show off kind of, if you're a player collector, again, we approached it, or at least I did, approached it from the kind of player collecting angle. And so if you're a player collector, there are some cards that you really want to hone in on and try and receive. And I know Eric can definitely speak to this one as well, but the high gloss is one of them, again, for sure. And there's so much more, that you can bring up for, player collector, especially during their rookie season. There's so many cards that a player might get, especially nowadays, right? But for me, it's the Cut Black 1/1. Like, every time I see this card, or I see other player collectors get the Cut Black 1/1, whether it's the shield or the autograph version, or just the simple, like this one, the rookie parallel 1/1, nothing too fancy about it. Yeah, exactly. Yours is autograph, but exactly my point. This is the type of card, just the Cut Black. It's just, yes, it's a 1/1. So, but it's one of the ones that I just personally, it's so exciting, it gets my blood pumping for sure. Like this one I did not get in 2010. It took years later to receive, but as soon as I saw this card, this picture pop up, a previous Enroth collector made this available, and as soon as I saw this picture, I was like, yeah, like that. There's a couple 1/1s in that lot, but that one was the one that it's like, this card is important. Yes, you could have debates till the end of time. What is their most important rookie card? All that stuff. Some people might put certain rookie cards ahead of certain 1/1s because they're not true rookies. But in terms of rookie year cards, that one to me, it's just, there's nothing more exciting. There's nothing more that gets my blood pumping more than seeing the Cut Black 1/1. It's just, it's such a classic brand of hockey cards with the cup. It's just the pinnacle of high end, and it's just that singular 1/1 card of your player. It's just, there's nothing more special than that, really. Depending on how you want to look at it, especially when you want to narrow down rookie year cards. To me, anyway, I know there's so much more, but to me, anyway, that's one that I am definitely kind of honed in on for sure.
It's very hard to argue against that, for sure. Yeah, definitely an iconic card for any player, for sure. So, yep, definitely a good way to close that out. So yeah, that was a lot of fun, just kind of talking about different types of exciting cards.
I loved it. Where are we at? An hour and a half already? Jeez.
Yeah, so we'll get to the break here real quick. This was actually supposed to be 25-26 O-Pee-Chee Platinum. At least we assume that's what is in the package that's coming to us. But unfortunately, FedEx was kind of slacking and taking it easy over the last few days. So, yesterday being a holiday down here, I get it, but still, it was supposed to come today, but it's not here yet. So rather than doing 25-26 O-Pee-Chee Platinum, we'll stick, on brand, but do the boring version of O-Pee-Chee, just being the, traditional paper product.
Do you think, especially after what we talked about, and I know you've probably thought about it, do you think we'll hit a blank back? Yes or no?
We could, or it would be fitting if we hit a platinum preview of some kind.
That would be cool. So, I say yes to the blank back. It's my feeling right now.
We shall see. I think they're usually around 1 per case ish.
Okay.
It's not guaranteed, but we'll see. So one kind of exciting thing, I'll pull one out whenever we get one. Yeah, here we go. Is there were a lot of players from Four Nations Face Off included.
Yeah, I love those cards, man.
So Slavin has cards in the product, both as a Hurricane, but also on Team USA. So let's see. First pack here, we also have a retro of Lawson Krause. And our first kind of hit of the box is a purple parallel numbered out of 49 of Radko Gudas.
As a Leaf fan, I don't like that, but okay.
Fair. And base, obviously, I won't go through all the base cards or anything, because otherwise we'd be here for another hour and a half. 18 packs per box, 10 cards per pack. You typically get 3 cards of consequence per pack. One of those being a retro, and typically a short print or rookie, and then something else. So let's see here. We've got a Hellbuck Four Nations. We have a Jesper Bratt Four Nations retro. This is a nice one. We have a playing card for the Montreal Canadiens of Ivan Demidov. Of course, a good one to get right now.
Those cards.
And I think that might be, well, I guess the Hellebuck is a high series short print. So there we go. And then a bunch of base. Let's see. I think you typically get 3 numbered cards per box, if I'm remembering correctly. So we have 1 so far with that Gudis, of course. Next pack, we have a marquee rookie of Colton Dach for the Blackhawks, a retro parallel of Teuvo Teravainen, and a blue parallel of Mr. Semyon Varlamov.
Nice. He made a comeback this year to the AHL, so good for him.
I was going to say, that was not a name I was expecting to see. Like, isn't he done?
No, I mean, I think he was. I think he got like double hip replacements or something, like something crazy, or knee or something. Like for a goalie, it's not good. And he made his return to pro hockey, which is great. I mean, good for him. I don't know if we'll see him in the NHL. I doubt it, but you never know.
That's right. And of course, that's the beauty of O-Pee-Chee with it, such an expansive checklist. You'll see guys in the product that you don't see elsewhere very often. For example, Landon Slaggert with the Blackhawks. We've got a marquee rookie of Jacob Gaucher, a retro of William Eklund, and an O-Pee-Chee Premier insert of David Pastrnak.
Nice. I love those cards, man. Those look great. And are you checking the retro for blank backs?
So how blank backs work is if you have a blank back, there will be 2 retros in the pack.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of the giveaway.
That's how you know. I didn't know there was that tell. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah. So I have been fortunate to pull a blank back once before.
Who was it?
It was David Juracek.
Okay, I'm gonna nod and
so
I know this name.
Yeah, obviously not the biggest name. Speaking of big names, though, we have a marquee rookie of Ivan Demidov.
There we go.
We have a retro of Dylan Holloway and a playing card of Roman Josi. I think these look really nice this year with that kind of. It's almost like a matte. It's a matte finish on them, but it's still a rainbow foil board as the base of the card. So it's a really nice look for them this year. Of course, those are always pretty popular cards each year. On to pack number 6. Still looking for a couple numbered cards, I believe. Got a marquee rookie of Matvei Gridin, a retro of Juuso Valimaki, and a blue of Ben Sherratt. And base. Onto our middle stack here. Let's see here. We have got a marquee rookie of Wyatt Emote, have a retro of Darcy Kemper, and a playing card of Rupe Hintz. So nothing too crazy, but this is kind of generally what to expect.
That's what O-Pee-Chee is. But it seems like a fun rip, It's something that there's something for everybody, and that's what I love about O-Pee-Chee. It really is something for everybody.
It's very much a true collector's product, I would say.
It's a good way of putting it.
Have a marquee rookie of Hunter Height. We have a retro of Darren Radish and a blue parallel of Tristan Jarry. Again, for kind of that more common stuff, I won't waste our time looking at all of it. In case you're curious, you can easily find pictures of those on eBay or probably even just Google. Next pack up, we have a marquee rookie of Carson Dorwart for the Flyers, a retro of Sam Urson, and an O-Pee-Chee Premier of Tomas Hertl. Who knows? We'll see if the Knights sweep the President's Trophy Avalanche.
We shall see.
I don't know that anyone
I
saw
think
that
the game
coming.
started already, but
I think it starts in about 20 minutes.
Maybe you're right. I know the other one started at 8. But maybe
we've got 4 Nations of your guy UC Saros.
Nice. I was thinking of buying that card, like the parallels, which look amazing. That's sick. I love it.
Well, I will set that aside for you.
Great, thank you.
We've got a retro of Noel Achari and a playing card of Connor Hellebuck.
Nice.
And base. I've got a checklist here. I don't know if any of our guys are on that one. Don't know. Not going to take the time to look through every single name there. But...
That's okay.
All right, so we're about at the halfway point here. Still probably looking for a couple more numbered cards. Got a 4 Nations face-off of Jordan Binnington. We have a retro checklist. And here's our second numbered card of the box, a pretty nice one. A rainbow foil out of 350 for the San Jose Sharks of Sam Dickinson.
Ooh, nice. That's a really cool card. Awesome job.
Yeah, obviously one of the more decent rookies, maybe not the best of the best, but definitely, a above average player there for sure.
Definitely.
So that's cool and definitely a really nice looking card. On to the next pack here. Let's see what else we've got. Have a 4 Nations face-off of Austin Matthews. We have a retro 4 Nations face-off of Sam Reinhart. And our red parallel of the box for the Washington Capitals, Charlie Lindgren.
Okay.
Now, of course, you also have to be on the lookout of blank backs of these, which are 1-of-1s.
Yeah.
Of course, this is just the basic.
So sneaky. You got to check that.
You do. So those you actually do have to keep an eye on, though. I think similarly, if you were to get a blank back of the Reds, you would then still get a base one. So you'd get 2.
Okay, that would kind of tip you
Reds
off.
Within a box. But yeah, the retro blank backs are much easier to pick out since there would be 2 retros within the same pack. But let's see here. We have got... I guess that qualifies as our short print of the pack is the high series checklist.
It's right up my alley, man.
Retro of Austin Watson and an O-Pee-Chee premiere of Kirill Kaprizov.
Okay, cool.
So, and base of your guy, Dustin Wolf.
Nice. I think last time we opened O-Pee-Chee, we got that preview of Ovechkin.
Sounds right.
That platinum preview at 25.
Yep.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, so I mean, we probably won't get anything that good, but
you never know.
Yeah, that was
great though.
Amazing pull for sure.
It was fantastic.
4 Nations face-off of Sebastian Aho. We have a retro of Pavel Dorofeyev, who of course has been red hot in these playoffs, as well as a playing card, a king of Austin Matthews.
All right. Nice. Go Leafs.
We shall see what happens there.
Yep.
Coming down to it here, I think we're still looking for one numbered card. Let's see what that ends up being. Got a marquee rookie of Noah Laba, a retro of Caden Gooley, and a blue of Andrei Svechnikov. And base. We've got 3 packs left here. Let's see. We've got a marquee rookie of Maxim Shabanov, a retro of Thomas Novak, and a retro black border numbered out of 100 for the Winnipeg Jets of Luke Shen.
Nice card.
And a base of UC Saros.
Okay, there we go.
Set that one aside as well. Got a McDavid base. Can never go wrong. 2 packs left. Let's see if we can
back magic right now.
muster anything else. think in theory you're also supposed to get like a hit card per box.
Yeah.
And it looks like we got it here, actually.
Nice.
We've got a marquee rookie of Rodrigo Abels for the Flyers. We have a retro of Zeev Buium for the Wild. And our hit card of the box. This is cool. Actually, I'm not sure if I've ever pulled one of these. I'm not sure. At least maybe not from an Upper Deck product. But we have a cyan printing plate, 1 of 1.
Oh, so sweet.
For the Vancouver Canucks, Quinn Hughes.
Oh, that is awesome. That is such a good pull. Wow. Amazing pull. See, you never know, right? It's not a blank back, but amazing. That's a fantastic pull. Look at that. I mean, it's not a blank back. It's a sticker back. So that's awesome. What a great pull.
Yeah.
Hey,
certainly take that.
Not
of course, those are.
Congrats.
Of course, if you get one of those, you know it as soon as you open the pack because you see it shining out the side. So
I'm sure.
That was definitely very cool.
The next pack, we'll see. Base?
What's that?
Base, maybe?
Yeah.
Retro blank back?
Let's see.
Maybe it's slave and base. Come on.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I don't anticipate anything interesting here, though. We've got a Four Nations face-off, Nathan McKinnon, a retro of David Perron, and an O-Pee-Chee premiere of Chris Kreider.
Okay.
So nothing too crazy there in that pack. But, yeah, there's a very good look at O-Pee-Chee. Obviously, a few nice numbered cards there with the Sam Dickinson. And then, of course, the Quinn Hughes printing plate is obviously a very quality hit there.
That's
for
awesome.
Sure.
Great hit.
So
fantastic. Always nice when you can hit 1 of 1.
That's right. So, hey, it wasn't O-Pee-Chee Platinum, but that's okay.
I think it was a good constellation, I think, especially with the 1 of 1. I think it made it worth it, I think.
Yeah, any box with a 1 of 1 is probably a pretty good box. So
exactly.
Yeah, obviously this has been a little bit longer of an episode than we normally do, but hey, when you've got a really fun topic, it's worth the time. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And if you guys have any of those categories of cards that really speak to you, that excite you, or if you resonated with anything we said and want to share examples, please be sure to reach out. We'd love to see and hear about that stuff. So but we'll wrap it up and leave it at that. So as always, please be sure to follow us on social media. We can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Sunrise Cardcast, and on Twitter at Sunrise CC. Please also be sure to subscribe to the show on your podcast platform of choice to make sure you never miss a future episode. Until next time on Sunrise Cardcast, keep collecting those hot.